After a long week, Southeast Houston resident America Barrera is looking forward to a quiet night alone. Meanwhile, in the backyard, her motion sensor camera is triggered by a surprise visitor.
It's a Saturday night. We see a man jump across a fence into this woman's backyard. We see him scurry across the backyard, and he goes up to a very large window.
It's dark out. He's dressed in a skirt or dress that isn't exactly fitting right. And we see him smash the window.
After this perpetrator breaks the window, he climbs through the shards and makes his way inside the house.
Confronted with the burglar, America screams before running away to call police from a neighbor's.
Her scream scares the guy. But he doesn't leave empty-handed. Before he goes, he grabs a bunch of her clothes, including her underwear, and then runs out the house.
He's wearing a skirt, but then he's largely nude otherwise. It's like, who is this guy and what is he gonna do? It just really makes it all the more chilling.
Houston police respond and take America's statement. What she reveals is deeply disturbing.
She tells the arriving officers that this isn't the first time this gentleman has broken into her house.
According to America, the same man broke into her home 2 days earlier, and she has the video to prove it.
We see this same man approach the rear of the house to the same window, this time wearing a bathrobe, breaks the glass and enters the home.
Luckily, on this occasion, America was not home, but the man takes full advantage of the empty house.
He stays for a while. He has a beer, he has a little something to eat, takes her shotgun and some clothing, and left a knife in her bed.
There's messaging going on here. Essentially, he's taking away her protection, and he's sending a message that I pose a threat.
Now that this has happened twice with the same perpetrator, you have to wonder, is he obsessed with this woman? Has he been stalking her? Is he watching her at all times?
It becomes apparent to the officers that they may know who this individual is, and he's a local transient, a homeless person who frequents that area.
America interviews with the local news but is too afraid to appear on camera.
He's roaming around. The cops know he's roaming around. I asked, like, well, if I drive around and I find him and I call you, can you arrest him? And they told me no, because the judge has to sign the warrant.
Officers say they think they know who this individual is, and yet he remains at large.
I totally feel for this homeowner. I would not feel safe in this home. As inconvenient as it might be, I would seriously consider moving out of this home. There's no stopping him unless he's finally arrested and is locked up.
Metter, Georgia is a quaint little town, and everybody knows everybody. It's the kind of place where you usually keep your doors unlocked.
We have very little violent crime. There's not much that really goes on. During the week time, we'll go days without getting a single call at night.
But on April Fool's Day 2023, Metter police received several disturbing calls that shatter its residents' sense of security.
The very first call we got was to a residence to an elderly couple that was home asleep and heard a commotion and looked up, and it was a slender black male.
Getting woken up in the middle of the night by a prowler is terrifying. What's going on? How do I deal with this threat?
He made a grunting sound, and then he ran out the door, followed by the homeowner, who chased him out with a shotgun.
After fleeing the first residence, the man hits 4 more houses, and what the security video reveals turns the case from unsettling to truly bizarre.
They reviewed their video camera, and they saw a naked black male with something wrapped around his head.
This is something you don't expect to see in a small town like this. A guy traipsing around yards of homes naked trying to break in.
If somebody's just prowling around my residence, you know, that's one thing. But when they're naked like that, that's very disturbing to me.
Even more disturbing, the nude burglar's MO seems to be more about sending a message to the residents rather than acquiring their belongings.
All he does is pick up little trinkets with every house he goes into. And then he moves those trinkets from one location to another location.
There was a residence where several things were stolen, and then a day later found a trash bag at another residence that he had been at that had the remaining items that he had taken from that house.
That's sort of saying, I've been here, I've gone through here, and I've left here.
Despite boldly exposing some parts of himself, the man makes sure to cover his face, making identification difficult for Metter PD.
It's extremely frustrating when you can't get the facial features to identify somebody. You have to rely on the body type, which most people don't see people in a naked state.
Then, a week later, fears intensify when the burglar in the buff strikes again.
A resident was awakened by a naked man in their home, wearing nothing but a hood around his head. The homeowner armed themselves with a pistol that they kept on the side of the bed and fires off a shot, and that causes the suspect to then run out of the residence.
You know, this is a small town community. They don't want problems. So this is definitely gonna put pressure on law enforcement to get this guy off the streets.
The million-dollar question for us is, why is he doing this? Why does he keep doing this? It doesn't make a lot of sense. While we're in the middle of this call, we get another call from a resident. They heard something that awoke them, and they looked at their camera, and in that video camera, they saw a naked black male with something wrapped around his head. And he was loitering and prowling around. Since we had video evidence from the week earlier, when we compared the two, we knew that it was going to be the same person.
This kind of behavior escalates, and he's starting to feel familiar. And the more he gets to know the landscape, who knows who will be next.
Determined to protect their citizens from him, the town's law enforcement sets up a sting.
I figured that we needed to take every precaution we could to try to curb this before it got violent. One of the local car dealerships allowed us to borrow a bunch of cars, and so we put people basically undercover in the homeowners' areas. We sat in driveways and alleyways to try to wait and just sit and detect.
All these assets to try to stop this guy from terrorizing his community. And they never catch him, and it never happens again. But maybe that was the deterrent. The guy very well may have known that there was going to be a big operation to try to catch him, and he could have just thrown in the towel.
It's still an active case. Even today, they're still working on a suspect pool. They're conducting interviews, anything that we can get out of this to try to tie somebody to this crime.
Northeastern Ohio, 3:55 a.m., and the Geauga County Sheriff's Office has a dire threat on its hands. A vehicle traveling at nearly 120 miles per hour.
Officers are drawn to this vehicle who's driving at a very high rate of speed, and they don't stop or slow down when they see the officers.
Going that fast is not only a speeding citation, but it's also driving to endanger. At those speeds, you can't brake properly, you can't maneuver your car, you can't avoid obstacles. So the public, the driver, and the officer are all in danger with these kinds of speeds. Clearly, the driver is not in the right state of mind.
In order to get this driver to stop, officers have to deploy the spike strips. Finally, one of those pops the front tire on the car, and then the driver finally pulls over and then stops.
We're just east of the reservoir, Pennsylvania plate. Could be on a silver Mazda one.
Without being told to, the driver starts to get out of the car.
Driver, let me see your hands! Let me see your hands right now!
The officer is treating this as a high-risk stop, but I don't think he had any idea what he was getting into when the person exited the vehicle.
Step out of the vehicle.
The driver gets out, clad only in a see-through tube top and G-string.
Walk back towards my voice. Do it now. Walk back toward me. Walk back towards me. Do it now. Walk back here. Walk back.
It's not every day that you pull over a woman driving 128 miles an hour and she's pretty much naked. There is a shock factor to that, even for a police officer who's seen it all.
Is there anybody else in that car? Is there anyone else in that car? No. Don't move. I'm not moving, okay?
The woman is handcuffed and placed in the back seat of the squad car, but she refuses to get fully inside.
Somebody talk to me right now, please. I'm here, I'm talking. I know I ain't got no license, okay? And I know I'm not right.
At this point, it's clearly evident that this driver is intoxicated, which makes her driving from earlier even more dangerous, even lethal.
Can you talk to me? I will, but you're not listening to me. You're not talking to me. You're in the car. Put your feet in.
Once, though, she's in the back, she goes on to a full-on hissy fit and starts bashing her head against the partition window between the front seat and the back seat, and then kicking at it.
What I'm thinking about, if she's sitting in the back of my car, is what's going to be next from this person? How bad is this going to get?
Police transport the belligerent woman to the Geauga County Safety Center. She is identified as Erin Holdsworth and charged with 7 counts, including operating a vehicle while intoxicated and fleeing and eluding authorities. Holdsworth is convicted on 3 of the 7 charges and sentenced to 180 days in jail.
Had the officers not been able to pull this woman over, somebody would have died that night. I commend these police officers for stopping her in her tracks.